Good evening, Uriva. Can you hear me? Good evening. Lydia, come here and see if my microphone's on. Come see, Lydia, if I'm muted or if I'm unmuted. I can't hear Uriva. What do I need to push to get Uriva up so we can talk?
She's right there.
I know, but we're not being able to communicate.
Hi.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Hello. Do you hear? Do you listen?
Why did you take my screen share away?
Because I'm trying to. You're unmuted, so I don't know.
Okay. I think she can hear me.
Okay. Well, there. Can she hear you?
What? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I can hear you.
Okay.
Where do I turn up the volume if I need more volume?
Right here.
Okay. We'll wait just a few minutes to see if the others join us. Did you know if anyone else was going to join us this evening or not? Did you draw pictures of your family or write down their names?
Yes.
Good.
Oh, Amalia.
Hola.
Good evening, Amalia.
Good evening.
Amalia, did you do your family history, your pictures, or the words, the names of your family that we talked about doing for this week?
Yeah, let me see. So I made like this. Maybe you can see.
Yeah. That's fine. That will work. This picture from our devotional tonight is about Abraham. We have finished with the story of Noah and the flood, and now we're going to have apparently some devotions from the story of Abraham. And when Abraham was getting up in years, God met with him and told him that he wanted to make a great nation, but he had to separate from his family. And I think it's very appropriate that our lessons tonight are about family relationships. And yet God said, I want you to separate yourself from all of your family. I want you to leave this part of the world where your father lives, and I want you to go to a strange place. I'm going to take you there. I'm not going to tell you where it is. You won't know until you get there that you finally have arrived. So this is God talking to Abraham and telling him that even though he and his wife are getting on in years and have had no children, that he was going to make Abraham a great nation. So, Ureva, would you like to read the devotion for us this evening, please?
Okay. I will bless you and make your descendants into a great nation. You will become famous and become a blessing to others. Genesis 12:2.
Very good. Do you understand the word descendants? Descendants mean the people who come after you. So like in my family tree, I started with my great-grandparents because last week, remember I told you I was especially blessed to know my great-grandparents. And so everybody who came after them would be my grandparents, my mother's family, then my family. And so these are all descendants. These are all the people that came from this person right here. So Abraham's descendants, the people who would come after him. So he's saying, I'm promising you that even though you don't have a child yet, you and your wife will still have a child. That Abraham would become famous. I must have touched the screen. So that's our devotional for tonight. Do you have any questions about the devotional?
No.
No.
We'll probably have some more from that story. But one of the things that I asked you to do last week was to write 4 sentences from the end of the last lesson. On tips for learning English, you had 4 sentences that you were supposed to write, I believe. That we talked about. So did you write your 4 sentences? It was at the bottom of page 63.
Okay.
Did you all write 4 sentences for me? Amalia, do you want to give me what your 4 sentences were?
Yeah, I put the read book in English.
Uh-huh.
Listen music in English.
Yes, good.
Speak more in English.
Good.
And watch TV in English. I think that watching in English is reading the book. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the things they listed in the book. But that's good if you intend to do that. When I lived in Canada, a lot of what we had to study was French.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would get things out of the cabinet because everything was written in French and English on our groceries. And so we would try to read what was written on the groceries and things that my mother bought. We would try to read that in French because it had both the English and the French, and we could translate because it had both languages together. Try to learn a little French because we had to take French in school. Good evening, Marianne. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We've already had our devotional, and we are getting ready to do our vocabulary from our new lesson of chapter 4. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about this sound. Grapes. And it's a throat, it's a GR. And I know in Spanish that they roll the R's with their tongue, the back of their tongue. Where when we have an R with the G, it's more of a growl. It comes out of your throat. It's grapes. It's not a rolling of the R. It's actually kind of a growl. And some of the words that will be in our list, like grandparents, great grandparents, it comes out of the back of your throat. It's kind of a growl sound instead of with your tongue. It's not an R sound like you would have in your regular Spanish. Do you have a sound like that in Arabic, Marianne?
Yeah, it's word grapes or R?
Just the GR sound, where it comes out of the back of your throat. Grr.
No, GR, Arabic, girl.
So, and like your French fries, drum, the R doesn't roll like you expect it to in the Spanish.
Okay.
So it's more of a growling sound in the back of your throat, especially with the G.
Okay.
So I was reminding Ureba and Amalia that I told you all that I was especially blessed because I knew my great-grandparents. Her name was Addie Sue and his was Burton. My grandmother was their first grandchild. They had 2 others, but there was 7 years between each of their children. So my grandmother was born, then it was 7 years before her sister was born, then another 7 years before the youngest daughter was born, which means that my grandmother's sister was still having her children when I was born, because my grandmother married and started having her family. And it seems to have come down in our family. I had a child when I was about 25, and then I adopted Lydia when I was 53. So there was about 28 years between my 2 children, which that's a bigger distance than most families do. But it makes for interesting conversations when my grandchildren were saying, this baby is my aunt. This little tiny baby is my aunt, because they think of an aunt being someone older. So here's my grandmother. She was married to my grandfather. His name was Jess and her name was Gladys. They had 4 children. There was my Uncle Donald, my mother, her younger sister, and there's 7 years between these two and 9 years between my mother and her youngest sister. So they weren't even married when I was born because they were so much younger. So my grandmother had all sisters. My mother had a brother and 2 sisters. Now, relationships. My grandmother was a wife. My grandfather was a husband. We introduced the word brother and sisters. Now, when you have a brother and sisters, then their children are your nieces and nephews. A niece is a girl, a nephew is a boy. So I don't know very much about my Uncle Donald's children because he was in the Navy and he was away from home a lot. I know that he had one son, Stephen, and so Stephen was my mother's nephew. His daughter was Cheryl, and Cheryl was a niece. So her sisters had children. Their children were nieces and nephews. So, do any of you have nieces and nephews? That means your brother or your sisters have had children. So the girls are nieces, the boys are nephews. Now, I can write that. A niece is N-E-I-C-E. A nephew is N-E-P-H-E-W, nephew. Now, your children and those children are called cousins. And that's C-O-U-S-I-N-S. Now, the reason that I'm going ahead into the next part of the lesson on relationships, and we're talking about aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and cousins, is because last week it seemed you all understood brothers, sisters, mother, father, grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, that you understood those relationships. Did anyone not understand husband, wife, brother, sister, grandparents? I thought everyone understood that. So are you having any questions about these relationships?
I not understand last word.
Okay, we'll back up to mother, father. You understand mother and father?
Yeah.
Okay. Brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I noticed you sometimes have a baby in your arms. So your brother is that baby's uncle. Your baby
Mm-hmm.
is it a girl?
Now no boy.
No boys. You just have girls. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a niece. She is a niece to your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You understand that? If she was a boy, she would be a nephew to your brother. Okay, your brother, if you had a little boy, that little boy would be a nephew to your brother. Now, your children and your brother's children, they are all cousins. Okay, so are we okay now with the relationships?
Yes.
Okay. Raina, how are you doing this evening?
Huh?
How are you doing this evening?
Good, very good.
Good.
A little late, but yeah, I'm
Oh, that's
still.
okay. That's okay. I was a little bit late last week. We've already done the devotion, and it was about how Abraham was going to be blessed with many children, which fit right in with our vocabulary.
Okay.
Any questions about the words we've gone over now? We've talked about aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. We've talked about sisters, brothers, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather. We've talked about the sound, the GR, the GR like in grapes, like when we say grandmother or grandfather or great grandfather. It's in the back of our throat. We don't roll the R's like you do in Spanish. It's a growl sound. Grandfather. Great grandfather. It's a growl in the back of your throat. With me having some coughing going on, if I say it very often, it'll make me cough. So do you understand the sound we make when we say grandfather, grandmother, great grandmother, great grandfather? Okay, let's take a look in our book. I was going to show you a picture of my mother. She's 90 years old now. This is a picture of her family when she was about 8 or 9 years old. This is my grandmother. This is my grandfather over here. My uncle. My mother. My grandmother is holding one of the babies and my grandfather's holding another one. Those are both of my aunts. And this is what she looks like at 90. She looks very much like my grandmother did when she was 86. So she looks very much like her. I probably won't look like them because I look like my father. Okay, let's take a look in our books on page 66. Okay, are we on page 66? Okay. Someone from the class read number 1. What do you know? Where it says class, a class. Raina, do you want to start us off with that today, or did you say you would start, Ureva?
I can start.
Okay, all right, Raina.
Okay. Look at the pictures of Susan's family. What words for family members do you know?
Okay. Who is number 3?
Number 3. His mother of Susan.
Okay. And number 4?
His
Father.
Father. Okay. And number 1 must be,
I think sister.
could be the sister. And then Susan, it doesn't have a number. But number 2 would be who?
Brother.
Brother. Very good. Now, who is number 6 on the other page?
Husband.
He's wearing glasses. He's the husband.
Mhm.
She is a married young lady. So number 8 would be who?
Daughter.
Your daughter.
Number 9 is
Son.
the son. Okay, and so 8 and 9 together would be called the what?
Her children.
Children. Very good. Now, 11 and 12. Who is 11 and 12?
Grandmother and grandfather.
Very good.
Grandparents.
Grandparents. Good. Very good. Okay, I kind of have to flip a page back and forth here. Okay, I think we are ready to go. I want you to write 3 sentences in your notebook about your own father, or your own family, excuse me. How many brothers and sisters you have, whether they're brothers or sisters. Are your grandparents still living? Do your parents live here in the United States with you, or are they in your home country? Write 3 sentences about your own family. Now, if you have families of your own children, you can write them about your children. And then I want you to share those sentences with us.
No va a llegar en mejor momento. Quizás al rato baje. Habla de tu papá. ¿Por qué no arreglas las cosas con tu papá para que él regrese? Yo no voy a ir a arreglarla para no por su gusto. Ahora déjame en paz. No quiero andar ni ver a nadie. Llévate de mi la mano. ¿No crees que Víctor esté viviendo conmigo? Pues haciendo como antes. La atrapé. Pero bueno, yo siempre supe que es mucho mejor partido. No, su esposa es muy bien. Linda de repente. Si las veces que la trajo a los vídeos de la oficina se veía que era como de muy pocos amigos. Las pocas veces que la traté, fue muy amable. Ay, no como es la pobre loca. Loca. Ella fue la que lo pidió. Pero siempre, porque ella la aventó en brazo. Pues yo tengo que pegar.
Okay, have you finished your 3 sentences?
Yes.
Okay, good. Amalia, do you want to start with your 3 sentences about your family?
Yeah, I made a lot, but I just say 3. Okay, I have 4 sisters. I have 3 brothers,
Good.
and my mom live in Mexico.
Okay. Raina, your 3 sentences?
Okay. My parents, brothers and sisters living in Mexico. I have 5 brothers and 1 sister. I have only 2 sons.
Okay. Marianne?
I have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy, and I have 2 sisters who live in Egypt,
Okay.
and I have father and mother who live in Egypt.
Okay, good. Uriah, how about you?
I have my mother, my father died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I have 2 brothers, and 2 are married.
Okay.
I have 4 nephews and 1 niece.
Good.
I have 2 daughters. I don't have husband. I'm single.
Okay, good. Very good. Very good. Very enlightening. Everyone shared something. It asks you at the bottom of that page to draw a diagram, something like the one I did. Just use names. Don't use like a tree or anything, but it wants you to put this in your notebook. I am not going to check that now, but I may check it next week. I did check those 2 of the ladies that came a little early. I went ahead and checked their notebooks to see if they had done the 4 sentences I'd asked for last week. But now we're going to move on. To talk about family. Listening and speaking. Okay. Marianne, before we listen, I want you to read some sentences. On page 68, there's a picture right here of someone, and it has something written underneath. I want you to read this, and I want you to read this.
Okay.
Under those pictures. Can you read that, please?
Okay. This is Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
He is singer. This is my brother. He looks like Justin Timberlake.
Yes. Very
Who
good.
who do people in your family look like? My sister looks like me.
Do any of you have sisters that look like you?
Me, yeah.
Well, I was saying that my mother looked like my grandmother did. She has a sister that looks a great deal like she does, but she has a sister that looks like my grandfather and not my grandmother. She's much taller. She's bigger boned. My mother and her sister are only about 5 foot, and their faces are very much alike. As they've gotten older, I don't think that you could probably tell them apart unless you knew them as closely as I do. How about brothers? Do you have brothers who look like your father?
No, I don't have brothers.
Yes, I have one.
I have one brother that looks like my father, and I have one brother who looks like my grandfather. My brothers are very different. Their skin color, everything is very different. I have one brother that has very dark hair, and like my grandfather, if you saw in the picture, my grandfather on my mother's side of the family, by the time my mother was 8 or 9 years old, he was already bald. And my brother, the dark-haired one, he lost his hair very early. We also have color blindness in our family. My grandfather there that cannot see different colors. He sees everything in kind of gray and white or brown and white. He had to practice learning how to read the red and green lights. And he always bought a green car. He said he liked that color the best. He couldn't really see green, but he was almost totally colorblind, and so it came down in our family. Raina, how about in your family? Do you look like your mama or your daddy?
Yeah, I look like to my mom,
Yeah.
and my son look like to me.
Yes.
My oldest son, my younger son like look my husband.
Mm-hmm.
My sister look like to my father, and all are different. Someone look like to my mom, someone look like to my father.
Yes. How about you, Ureba? Do you see family resemblances in some of
Yes,
your brothers and sisters or your children?
yes. I look with my father.
Yes.
My younger brother look with my mother, and my older brother look with my father too.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Is my father is white. My mother is morena, no sé, white, brown.
Mm-hmm.
Is a mix. The
Mm-hmm.
the race is I I had coffee. The steamed
Yes.
coffee.
In French, they call that cafe au lait.
Yeah, it's
Cafe,
coffee.
coffee with milk.
Yeah.
Cafe au lait.
Yes.
Well, my father was a redhead,
Sorry.
and my mother had coal black hair. But my great grandfather lost his coal black hair when he was 16 years old. He turned white like this. So my mother and I got the white hair from my great grandfather. By the time I was 30, I was almost completely white-headed. So I've looked old for a long time. Okay, it says here that this boy has a brother that looks like Justin Timberlake. Have you ever been told you look like somebody else that they saw at the grocery store or that they saw at the school? Have you ever had that experience where somebody thought you looked like someone else? I'll tell you a story. When I lived in Louisiana, I had left and gone on a long trip to Canada to visit my family. And when I came back, this real close friend of mine said, "While you were gone, I met your twin." I said, "I don't have a twin." And they said there was a woman at this place of business that looked so much like me, they went up and tapped her on the shoulder to see if it was me. And of course it wasn't, because I was in Canada. So I have had the experience of being told, you have a twin, you have someone who looks just like you. Have you ever had that experience where someone said you look just exactly like someone else? Marianne, has anyone said you look just like this other person?
My sister, like me.
You look like your sister.
Yeah.
How about you, Raina? Has anyone ever told you you had a twin somewhere?
No, but my brother, two of my brother look like same, but
They,
don't are twin.
how about you, Amalia? Have you ever been told that you look just exactly like someone else?
My cousin in Mexico,
Yes.
he have a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and she looks like me when I was young.
I see. So there's an age gap. There's an age difference. Okay. Let's look at number 2 on listening. Look at the picture here to the side. I believe this lady's name is Dora. Dora is showing a photo to Senator Gass. And they are saying, who is the man in the picture? So if you look at the bottom of the page, I don't know if you can tell who the man is in the picture. What would you guess? Is it Dora's brother, Dora's husband, or Dora's father?
I think Dora's father.
Good guess. I am going to go to the back and read the conversation.
Que vas a tener que buscar a tu papá y decirle, no quiero ni verlo después de lo que pasó con la mentira esta de su amante, papá Moreno. ¿Tiene un amante?
Okay, this is what the ladies are saying, the ones in the picture. The senator says, "That's a great photo. Who is that?" Dora says, "That's my father." The senator said, "Oh, he looks nice." Dora says, "Thank you." So were we correct that it was the father?
Yo no tengo un techo que no.
Okay, the senator says the photo is what? Is it great, interesting, or nice?
Nice.
No.
Let me
Great,
read this
great,
conversation again. Let's see.
great.
That's a great photo. Who is that? Dora says, my father. The senator says, oh, he looks nice. Dora says, thanks. The senator said, and is that your sister? She looks like you. Dora says, thanks, but that's not my sister. That's my daughter. Okay, so the senator says the photo is what? Great.
Great.
Remember to go deep in your throat. Great. The senator says the man looks
Nice.
very good. Nice. The senator thinks Dora looks like the woman in the photo. True or false?
True.
That's true. Very good. The woman is Dora's sister. Is that true or false?
False.
It's false. Because what? The person in the picture was who?
Is Dora?
It's Dora's daughter, wasn't it? I think it was Dora's daughter.
This is not heavy, this is heavy.
Okay, let's look at number 3. Do I have someone who will read that conversation? It's kind of like the one I've already read, but I want you all to read it also. Who can read the senator part, the SEN part? Okay.
Okay, listen and read the conversation. Then listen and repeat. Then, that's great photo. Who's that?
Okay, who's going to play Dora?
I can.
Okay. All right, Raina.
My father.
Oh, he looks nice.
Thanks.
Good. Practice the conversation again and then make new conversations. So, Uriba, why don't you take the A part, and Marianne, you take the B part. You see in the number 4 where it says practice down here? So we're going to have a new family relationship there, a family member, and then use a pronoun, he or she.
That's great photo. Who's that?
Is 3 or 4?
We're doing 4.
4?
Yes. So you make up your own family member. You put in your own family member, whoever you want to choose in that blank.
Father?
Okay, you could use cousin.
Oh, he looks nice.
Thanks. Sorry.
With cousins, it's hard to tell whether it's a boy or a girl because nieces and nephews are gender specific. In other words, niece is always a girl, nephew's always a boy. But with cousins, it can be a girl or a boy. So your pronoun that you pick then tells us whether it's a boy or a girl. We've done quite a bit of this already this evening, making it personal, talking about our family, talking about how we look similar to different family members. So I don't think I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I think everyone had a chance to do that. And notice they've added the uncle, the aunt, and the cousin on this page. Did you notice that we had started with the aunt, the uncle, and the cousin when we did our original list. And now they've added it on this page. Do you see the little box where it says notice 3 new words? Uncle, aunt, and cousin. It depends on who's telling the story, whether the relationship is an uncle, an aunt, or a brother and sister. With my mother, if she's talking about my uncle, she would say her brother or her sisters. I would call them uncle and aunts. Okay, let's talk about some grammar. We're on page 70. So we have possessive adjectives. Possessive adjectives, that means we're going to talk about, I am in the United States, but we're going to talk about my family is in Peru. So my family, that means that family belongs to you. You have possession of that family. Your family is in Peru, possessive. So you are in the US, but your family is in Peru. So let's read it across so we get a better understanding. Instead of just reading it down, just like I did, I said, I am in the US, my family is in Peru. So you can see the difference on how you use the pronouns. You are in the US, your family is in Peru. Take the next one down, please, Amalia. Starts with he.
You saying the first one? Yes.
I did the first two. I
Okay.
want you to do he is and she is.
He is in the United States. He is in the United States. We are.
How about his?
Continúa la.
His,
Family is in Peru.
yes. Her,
Family is in Peru.
okay. Ureva, do we are in the US.
We are in the United States. Our family is in Peru.
Okay, they are in the US.
They are in the US. Their family is in Peru.
Good. Notice the difference in the spelling between they are and their. Their means possession. That is their car. That is their house. That is their bicycle. T-H-E-I-R, possession. That means they own it. Okay, we need to learn to make some good choices in our sentences. So let's look at practice number 1. Maria is showing family photos to a friend. Complete the sentences. Choose or underline the correct word. So for number 1, Raina.
This is my husband and me.
Good. Go ahead and read the one underneath.
Our 2 children are in the picture.
Good. Very good choice. Marianne, take number 2.
This is your daughter.
Our daughter.
Our daughter.
Good. Take the one underneath it.
Okay. His or no. Her name is Sarah.
Good, very good. Amalia, take number 3.
This is our son.
Good.
And his name is Antonio.
Good. Ureba, take number 4, please.
These are our parents. Their names are Liana and Lois.
Okay. Let's take a look at that first sentence. Is it these are our parents or these are my parents? Which sounded better to you?
My, right?
Yes, it should be my. Let's look down where it says Maria is showing more photos to her friend. Complete their conversation. Use words like my, your, his, her, and their. In other words, all possession. Who belongs to who? So let's read Maria. Raina, would you start there with Maria?
Yes, yes. This is my daughter with her friend from school.
Very good.
This is my son with his cousin.
Good.
And here are the children with their classmate.
Very good. Marianne, take the next 2, the one that says friend and then Maria.
Nice. And my no. He's my son. No.
Your son, because see, the friend is talking to Maria. She's looking at Maria's pictures.
Oh.
So it's going to be your. Nice. Your son looks just like you.
Your son.
Yes.
Nice. Your son looks like you. I know. And my daughter or her daughter.
No, my daughter was correct.
I know. And my daughter looks like my husband.
Yes. Very good job. I've already checked that for you. I have a key and I've already checked it. Okay, we're going to look at some possessive nouns. We looked at possessive pronouns. Now we're going to look at possessive nouns. So if you look on page 71, Dora is in the United States. Dora's family is in Peru. So, Ureba, take the next one. It says Luis.
Luis is in the United States. Luis' family is in Peru. Dora and Luis' family is in Peru.
Okay, notice that they added the apostrophe S to names to show possession. So when we write the answers in practice number 2, be sure you put your apostrophe S. So number 1 there, Raina, Ryan.
Ryan is Eva's husband.
Good. Marianne, take number 2.
Megan is Wife, Meg.
Whose wife?
Oh,
Find Megan in the pictures over here. See where Megan
Mary.
is? How about Megan's here?
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
her husband is
Megan.
right beside her. What's his name?
Megan's. Right? Megan's.
It should be
Megan's. One
is
second.
blank's wife. So who is the husband? That's who you have to put in the blank.
Mike's.
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 Megan is Mike's wife. See, right here is Megan,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
right next to her is Mike. Do you see right there underneath that picture of that fellow? It says Mike.
Yeah. Mike's.
Okay.
Megan is
Yes,
Mike's wife.
it's Mike's wife.
Yeah.
Do the next one, Marianne.
And brother.
Eva.
Eva is Rose, and oh, 1 second. Eva here.
Okay, up at the top.
It's
Top.
Mary.
We've got Ross and
Mary's.
Mary. Yes, very good. Eva is Ross and Mary's. What is the relationship?
Daughter.
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 That's how you write daughter.
Daughter.
Okay. Number 4, Uriah.
This is Jack's grandmother.
Okay, that's Jake's. Long
Yes.
A.
Grandmother.
Tess is Jake's grandmother.
Yes.
Amalia, take number 5, please.
Ed is Tess' husband.
Good, good, good. Number 6, Raina.
Diana is Mary Ann Rose's granddaughter.
Yes, very good. The apostrophe S adds an extra syllable after the sounds of an S, like Ross's, Z, SH, and CH. So it's Louise's, Alex's, Liz's, Josh's, and Mitch's. Very good. Talk about the people in the picture. Who are they? Can you make a guess? Okay, look at underneath the picture, and it has a whole bunch of names. Now, usually when they don't say left to right or whatever, then usually they put the name right underneath the person. So you kind of have to count over. So it says, who's Ramiro? So look and find Ramiro. Can you tell which one is Ramiro? I counted over 4. So 1, 2, 3. The fellow in the orange shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, I counted over 4. He was the 4th one from that side. So this is who I'm saying is Ramiro. Who is Pancho? What color shirt does Pancho have on?
Yellow.
Hello.
Yellow, very good.
Yes.
Who's wearing a real light, soft blue shirt or blouse? What is her name?
Miranda.
Miranda. Good, very good. There's a real light pink shirt. Can anyone tell me who that is?
Lila.
Leela or Lila?
Lila.
Who is the person wearing the bright pink? The bright pink.
Rosa.
Very good, Rosa. Can you tell in this picture which people look alike? Well, let's take a good guess at some relationships. The fellow in the red shirt and the lady in the light blue are probably who?
Omar.
They probably are Omar and Miranda, who are probably the grandparents, right?
Yes.
Now, do any of the younger people look like either one? If I had to guess, I would say Rosa and Adriana look more like their daddy. I'm guessing that's their daddy, that Omar is their daddy. What about Ramiro? Who does he look like? That's probably the son. Does he look like the daddy or the mother?
Father.
You think he looks more like the mother? Maybe around the chin?
Yes.
But now, how about the grandchildren, the younger children, the one in the yellow and the light pink? Can you tell which ones they look like? Lila and Pancho, who do they look like?
Pancho look like the Omar.
Okay.
And Lila look like, I don't know.
Of all of them in the picture, I think she looks more like the grandmother. The other children all have the long, slender faces like the grandfather.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. Okay, let's take a look at page 72. Now we're going to get into some blended flat families. Back when I was growing up, there was not very much divorce. But as we got older, it became more and more apparent that people would get married and then decide they could not get along. Or perhaps someone was in an automobile accident and died. And so the mother remarried or the father remarried. And so blended families means that all of the children do not have the same mothers and fathers who gave them life. So let's take a look here before we start reading. We need to look at this information. We have a graph over here, these circles. And we need to take a look and see what they're going to say about how our country has been made up. And sometimes why we have to be careful what we say about who looks like who. In the first circle, the yellow says do not get a divorce. So that number in that half of the circle says how many people in the United States do not get divorced?
52%.
52%, just a tiny bit more than half. Now that light green says how many get divorced?
88, no, 48%.
Very good, Raina. 48%. Now then, in the next circle, they're going to say, how many get married again? The little green box, the little green pie piece says this is
25%.
how many do not get married again. So
75%.
25% do not get married again. They get
Oh,
married
that's
one
good.
time,
Okay.
they get a divorce, they say, look, I've had enough of that, we're not going there again.
Okay.
So that's 25%.
25%.
How many get married again?
75%.
48.
75%. Most people who get married one time, if they don't get along, they decide to go ahead and get married again. In your country, do many people get divorced?
I don't know.
Okay, in the Spanish-speaking world, it's primarily Catholic Church. It's not always, but the biggest percentage of people are Catholic. So from my experience from years ago, the Catholic Church did not permit people to get a divorce, get remarried, and still be able to take the sacraments in the church. And I found that very often stopped a lot of divorce. So in your culture, are there a lot of people who get a divorce?
I don't know. In my country, maybe no married, only living together, but no.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So sometimes they just don't get married. They just live together.
Yes.
So, and I'm in Mexico too. In my family, especially in my side for my dad,
Uh-huh.
I don't think maybe it's two divorce in all family. For the people's it's not like and everybody marry. So and the side for my mom, too many people just live together and it's less like a marriage. So I
I
think
see.
I think it's the both.
So they do it, they just don't spend the money on getting an attorney to break up. They just quit living together and live with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that happened because of the church. I really do. Because I know early on in the United States, back when I was just growing up, I know that there were a lot of people who were Catholic who weren't living with their husband, but they did not get a divorce because the church would not allow them to take the sacraments if they were divorced. Let's look at the pictures now. In B, it says, look at the pictures and dates. Complete the information. Use the words in the box. So we have a box right here over the top of the pictures that has words in it. Now, picture number 1, 1997. So what happened in 1997?
Married.
Okay. Who got married?
Anna and Bob.
Okay. Ann and Bob Peterson get married. What happened in 1998?
But Anna and Bob with their
Son,
Yes, their son Jimmy.
son Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy with his
So by the time Jimmy looks like he's about 7 years old, what's happening?
apprentice.
Do the couple look real happy?
Jim with this, Jim with
Yeah.
his parents.
Yes, Jimmy's with his parents. But does Bob look like he's real happy?
No,
Him.
Okay, so what happens in 2006? Let's finish this story.
divines.
Divorce.
Divorce.
Okay, Anne
And
and
Bob
Bob
get divorced.
get divorced.
Divorce.
Okay, let's look at 2008.
Jimmy with his mother,
Stepfather
stepfather,
and
and
stepsister.
stepsister.
There, that's what's happened. Now, Jimmy's visiting with someone else. Let's look at 2008. What's happening in that picture?
Jimmy with his father, a stepmother, and a stepbrothers.
Stepsister.
Okay. So both of them have remarried.
What say a stepmother or a stepsister? What?
Okay, which picture are we talking about, Ureba?
Eh, no, I have a question.
You what?
The step, what,
Stepsister? Stepsister means
means,
the husband was married before. He had this daughter. So it means that they're not related bloodlines. It means that because the parents married, he's related to her only as a stepsister
okay. Okay.
because she came from his stepfather. And also then the stepmother and the stepbrothers. Those brothers are not related by blood. They are only related by marriage. Their parents married each other, and therefore that's how they are brother and sister. Okay, I'm going to tell you something from my own family since we're talking about divorce. This was my mother's family. But when the youngest baby, let's see, yeah, the youngest baby, that would be this one over here. She was a teenager still at home, but the rest of the family had all left the home. My grandfather asked my grandmother for a divorce. I was in the 4th grade. And it upset her so bad, she went into a coma and was put in a hospital for 3 months because she could not deal with the divorce. Because I had gone through this, I worked with a lady when I was expecting my son, and she got real sick. And at first, they were not telling why, but her husband, they were Catholic, asked her for a divorce, and they had 3 grown children. And she ended up in a hospital for 6 months. She was awake, but she could not function. She could not dress herself or feed herself, or because it devastated her that he would ask for a divorce. I'm the only grandchild that remembers this family all being together. I wasn't the oldest. The oldest grandchild has died. She died at a very young age, very young. And so I'm the only living grandchild that remembers that family being a family. And it hurt my grandmother deeply that her own grandchildren didn't know that she had once been married to my grandfather. And that's where in fact, my cousins have asked my mother for copies of that picture because they can't feature in their mind my grandmother and my grandfather having been together. And my mother and I are the ones who ended up taking care of my grandmother later in life. They both remarried at different times, but the family unit, the kids never understood the family unit, who was married to who first. It wasn't talked about. Anyway, divorce is sad. Some of us have experienced divorce. I have experienced a divorce. And I just thank the good Lord because he protected me from a terrible situation. Okay, I think we're over on page 73. I am going to read the article to you, and then you will need to answer some questions underneath to check your understanding. The American Family Today. In 2005, Jimmy had a small family. He had a mother and a father. He had no brothers or sisters. Then in 2006, his parents got divorced. In 2008, Jimmy's parents both got married again. Jimmy now lives with two blended families. From Monday to Friday, Jimmy lives with his mother, his stepfather, and his stepsister. On Saturdays and Sundays, he lives with his father, his stepmother, and his two stepbrothers. Jimmy says, "It's a little crazy, but I like my big family." Jimmy's life isn't simple, but his story is common. Today, 1 out of 3 people in the United States is part of a blended family. Right underneath the picture, it says 10-year-old Jimmy with his new family. Okay. Read the article again. Look at the days of the week. Underline the days Jimmy lives with his mother, his stepfather, and his stepsister. So underline the days Jimmy lives with his mother, his stepfather, and his stepsister. So what days are you going to underline?
So Monday to Friday, that's with his mom?
Yes.
Father?
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday should have a line under them. Now it says circle the days Jimmy lives with his father, his stepmother, and his two stepbrothers.
Sunday and Saturday.
Yes. What word do you think needs to go on the line there for letter B. There's 2 words that need to go there. Look at the last 3 lines of the article above. Jimmy's life isn't simple, but his story is common. Today, 1 of 3 people in the United States is part of a blended family. What goes on that line?
Blended family.
Blended families are common in the U.S. today. Do you know someone who is living in a blended family?
I have one friend.
Yeah.
On our
She lives with her son and her daughter with mm, her step daughter.
Right. Is there a stepfather in that home, or did he leave also?
Huh?
The stepfather, is he in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
So my sister
Yes.
is married when she's 18 years old, and she's
Yes.
married for 5 or 6 years.
Uh-huh.
She divorced, and now she's not married, but she lived together with somebody, and
Okay.
she had the first family 2 boys, and in the second family she have another boy. So my nephews is 3 boys, so stay to the with her every 2 weeks need to go to the father house.
Right.
So for stay with the live with the stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about holidays? We've got holidays coming up, and now with coronavirus and everything, and we've got sickness problems. But then we also have visitation problems, because the families, not only do you have the weekends or whatever days of the week that they go to stay with the other parent, now then you've got holidays that have to be discussed, and who's going to be at whose house for which holidays. So do you observe that, sometimes there is a lot of tension about, which holidays, how much of this holiday do I get? How much of that holiday do I get?
It's hard.
It can be very difficult on the children. I have a grandson, a step grandson, that was put on a plane for every holiday for at least part of it. And he would fly from North Carolina to Kentucky to stay a few days with his father, and then he'd be put back on a plane. He started doing that when he was 5 years old, every holiday. Ride a plane, stewardess help him find them, get together at the airport. Very difficult situations.
I think it's same when you have a daughter, if she married, sometimes she go to holiday with family, her husband, and sometimes she stay with me.
Yes.
I think it's same.
And as long as you can work that out on a friendly basis, sometimes people call it amicably, where that both people are in agreement about the visitation, it's so much easier for the children. But it meant that that young man, we never had any time with him because he was either at his mother's or he was at his father's, and we were never all together in the same place.
Yes. Yes. Nice different.
Let's take a look at describing people. Okay, we have about 25 minutes. Do you want to go ahead and start on describing people? Or do you want to wait and do this next time? I'm game if you are.
I think next time.
You want to do it next time? Have you got too much vocabulary already, Marianne?
Uh,
That's okay. You don't have to be embarrassed. I was wondering, now, last time, when I was not feeling well, when we would get to about 7:30, I was worn out because I wasn't feeling well. But if you all want to do it, we can talk about describing people, or we can put it off till next week. How about if we do this? If, like you have a child that is flying from one airport to another, and you need to describe someone they need to meet, what would you normally start with to describe? Just think about how you would start with description. I usually start with hair color because it's something that people see right away. What else would you might describe? We were talking about skin color a while ago. What color of skin they might have. Maybe on the telephone, if you're arranging for a blended family to get together, you might talk about, like on this book, whether they have, if it's a man, does he have facial hair? Did you talk to them about maybe what color clothes they might have on? What kinds of words would you need to use to talk about describing someone to another person? Ureba, if you have to describe someone, what's something prominent that you would share?
I share.
Yeah, that you would share with someone about what they look like. Do you start with height first? Are they a real tall person or a real short person? Or do you start like with me, like with hair color first? Because that's, you know, that grabs your attention. And we don't wear hats very much in the United States except in the wintertime. And so hair color to me is something that people pay attention to. But what would you say that people would start with if you're describing someone?
A Brad Pitt.
What now?
Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt?
Yes.
Okay, how would you describe him?
Okay, Brad Pitt is blonde hair.
Okay.
He's
So you
artist.
started with hair.
Yes. He's artist. He's He's have green eyes, green or blue eyes. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. He's short.
Okay.
He is good
About it
artist.
this week.
What?
About it this week. How to describe people. I usually only wear my glasses when I'm doing a lot of reading or sewing, but this, whether or not people wear glasses, that would be, you know, an item that people would think about identifying. I wear the rimless. You have rims on yours that have a pretty, looks like tortoiseshell maybe color. What kinds of things do you look for? Just think about describing someone.
Someone the here?
And next week, that's what we'll start with.
Okay.
We'll start with describing people. We'll let you share.
Okay.
With someone, pick out somebody at the grocery store, or if you go to a gym or at work, think about somebody that, and what kinds of things you feel like we would need to know, that if we went to your place of business or something, we could pick that person out. Okay. So just think about that this week, okay? What kinds of things do people notice quickly? And just look at yourself. What do you notice right away that makes that person different from those around them? And next week we will talk about describing people. And we also need to look at our workbooks. Now I have the workbook here. Here it is. We need to be up to okay. My glasses. You need to be up to page 42. If you want to cheat on the assignment a little bit, you can take a look at page 43 about describing people, because that's something we're going to be talking about next week. But right now, what I need you to have completed is everything through page 42 in the workbook. That will give you some practice. It will give you some practice. Any other questions, ladies?
No. Ladies, yes. Very lady, only ladies.
Well, I tried to make it more conversational tonight, talking about families and talking about who looks like who. And so we got more practice using our language. I hope that helped. If any of you talk to Marty, tell him I'm sorry I missed him tonight. Maybe he had to work late. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
See you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Saying goodbye. How do I say goodbye? Okay, Lydia, now for some reason, oh, end, there it is. Right there.